times are changing. At least for XRP, the times are changing because the court case is evolving so much that those hammer is going to come down on SEC. Let's get some imagination here because the reality, at least SEC acts like, okay, we don't see that, right? The court just ordered another time, hand over the document, and they're like, nah. So, yeah, we need to look at what is happening right now because this gives us the idea. One company, I Remit from Philippines, actually comes out and shows you this, that we are using on-demand liquidity platform as a base for our cross-border payments, and it's doing 10 billion in payments. That's the on-demand liquidity platform. Now, what is the importance of this? Because then you see companies like Modler, where you see they have a strong partnership with Ripple, and now they are entering into the Digital Pound Foundation, where they talk about what they're going to do in business across the UK, Europe, and they are going to handle 100 billion. So right now, when we talk about on-demand liquidity, we say 10 billion of payments. Understand they have customers who are going to use this in different ways, where they have a total volume of 100 billion, and that's just one customer. So think about the utility of this asset going in action, because as they enter the Pound Foundation, it actually shows like, okay, they announced the membership to join the committee, talk about payments and use case. Now, when you go into their company to look at what they are doing, you kind of get that idea. Now, this is really important to look at. Authorized by UK's FCA, that's a key regulator there, the Central Bank of Ireland, and the Central Bank of Netherlands, I think. That does actually mean they are approved in UK and Europe, and they are using on-demand liquidity as a tool. And they have more than 200 clients in that region, and you see they're doing 100 billion. Now, what does this actually mean? Going back to what we have talked about, the iRemit and TapJet and others, like a lot of different institutions using on-demand liquidity, this is going to end properly understanding like this is not an investment for all this. But what's more interesting for me is when I'm looking at this SEC saying the XRP purchasers, like us, are sophisticated individuals or entities. And I'm like, so we are sophisticated, It does not work that way. We have seen a lot of people buying at the top, selling at the bottom, making a huge loss. They are not sophisticated. So SEC really need to take a break, because I think, the steam is now going out. They really need to take a break. This is the Scientific Investor family, where the normal, common retail guys learn how to become the next top 10% of the world. As we progress, we are going to break things down in the technical side of it, clear charts of what's happening with the CPI news, the drop, the bounce, everything will be covered. And then we also look at how things are moving in the fundamental side, which is giving you the proper understanding of what to expect in the near future. So on the side of the market, we actually see red, green, all mixed, but we also saw that the price dropped immediately with the anticipation of the CPI close to the hours. And then as soon as the CPI came out, this started bouncing. So we are now at a point where we ask, okay, what just happened? Because right now you feel like on a short term you broke higher. You are right now coming back down to retest this motion. You broke this one. Now we are coming back to retest this range. So if we get a bounce from there, it kind of gives you more certainty to say like, okay, we may actually continue this trend. Now, why is that? One, it's in that pattern, a channel, parallel lines, where you actually go corrective trend. So this is your main trend. Then you're looking for different pairs of XRP, right? You can look for BTC, you can look for Ether, whatever you want to compare with. And you also observe similar price action happening there. it is actually key to understand that the strength is increasing here. If you plot this correctly, you will actually see like the strength is increasing. There will be a retest for sure. And you look at the general market, BTC itself has actually shown a long wick to the downside. The price came down all the way to 18K, kind of, touching a lot of nervous guys. Nerve like, tuck. And they're like, okay, the market is going to drop 10K, 5K. And, people were sharing like 6,500K YouTube videos. And I'm like, maybe, but I don't think so. And right now, when we look at this, say there's a daily chart for XRP, it's actually showing you a long wick. Now, we definitely need to see how the daily closes, and we need to actually evaluate what price action follows. Right now, you actually feel like, okay, even on a 3-day chart, you're getting this pump here, but I would actually see like, okay, we need to see what candle follows. Historically speaking, yes, whenever we have seen these volatility, we had actually made a base there and we consolidated and then continued further. So that is going to be a case in this market. But yes, there are some assets which are, randomly moving higher. Say, the way questions from the Patreon itself saying, okay, let's look at Cardano. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that today. So when I'm looking at Cardano, yes, it's a fundamental asset. But right now, at least in my eyes, it seems like it is breaking to the downside. It broke this level. And right now, when you try to look at this, it's like, okay, that's a big standard deviation there. If you are trying to follow it on a different path, you may actually see like this. So if you are following this, you hit the standard deviation, you bounce back into the range. But what you want to observe there is that you hit this moving average, slow down, and then break that one. Because if you don't do that, you're going to come back lower. That is always a possibility. Now we can go on a long-term chart for that and see there was a base which was established here, but that just broke lower. Now, if you take the same chart for XRP in the same time frame, which is like say a daily, and then you zoom in and look like what just happened there. This was the base which we made. We bounced off from that. Not only that bounce, we broke the level of resistance and went up. We made a higher high. We're trying to put in a higher low and most likely another move to the upside. Now, that being said, that means even inside the market, you will see strong assets moving up, large cap, some moving down. So understanding that is really important. See, when we looked at Quant sometime back, June, the end of June, we talked about the bullish divergence forming, right? We even entered a little early, moving out of EOS, and we had all our reasonings and chats, right? The audio message was dropped clearly. And when we look at this right now, the buy was like $45, and right now when you go look at Quant, you can actually see that's at 160. So you already did a 3x there, right? Now, if you entered recently with another trade of 130, this breakout here, you are still in profit, 20-30%. You are still running and your targets are higher. Make sure you take profits. Some of these trades may take long time to actually do this. Some may actually take 2 to 3 months and they're done, right? In some area, you really need patience. So say this one was back in June, same time. Right now, if you look at the price action from that point to this right now here, that's like, you already did close to 200%. Now, yeah, compared to Quant, that's lower, but the way it is breaking is right now it's getting a lot of momentum. So if you are a long-term guy looking at these, you're like, okay, fine. If you are looking at this, I'm like, okay, the first range is this. That literally actually means for anyone who's observing right now with the price action, it's like another 5x to move up. And if you weigh from that bottom, that's literally 18x. Say you miss the top. You completely miss the top. You still make 15x. That is a huge range saying, okay, I missed the top of that range, but I still make 10, 15x. Even if you miss a lot of it and you are so conservative taking profits way earlier, you still get a 10x. Now that is the reason for you to understand, even at this range, you say, I'm entering here with the breakout, you had a possibility to get this. Now there is a lot of different assets. Now the question which you would have in your mind is, okay, you moved out of EOS. Why? For me, it was clear that when I look at this, this is a long-term support resistance range, the yellow box here. Now you broke below that and it was like, okay, that's a bad time. But yes, I moved out at the bottom here. I could have done it better here. But if I have done that, I already missed the run in quant. So when I moved out here and moved into quant, that was okay. So the same thing, if you are looking to rebalance for a significant reason, if you don't have that significant reason, don't move out. Now for me, this was okay because I understood like, okay, things are changing fundamentally. The community is taking over the project. Think like this. XRP community is going to take over on-demand liquidity. It's going to take over the XRP ledger. How would you feel? It's not Ripple and other companies on ODL and big companies using XRP ledger or interledger protocol. It's us. So that's something which I understood from this, and I'm like, okay, in my opinion, that may not look great, and you're right now below this resistance. Unless you break above this, it's hard to go bullish. So yes, we do share all this in the Patreon, and if you want to get that on time, you can have a look at the link. It's given in the description below. Now, going back into the market, we just right now is looking at the next candle opening here. And as the next candle open, understand we just got a bullish candle with a heavy, huge wick, long wick candle. That is actually a bit bullish, but on a short term, when you zoom in, trying to understand what really is happening, you broke this one down. Now you're coming back to retest that. So if you're able to break that back up, it's a good thing to see for Bitcoin. Now, I'm not a Bitcoin bull, but it is going to move higher, right? Just the ROI will be lower compared to your altcoins for sure, but falling wedges usually ends up bullish and go higher. When it happens at a support, you don't even have to think twice. So that has a higher probability. Now, when you actually think about that, saying Bitcoin is going to move higher, and then you come on to XRP Bitcoin and look at where the RSI is and what the MACD suggests. That is important to note that the MACD is in the positive territory, because you go back in history to see like whenever the price consolidated long enough and the MACD entered back into the positive territory, you have seen massive fluctuation. Yes, MACD and the price movement is important, because here what you are looking at is, yes, the MACD was going up higher, 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 but you don't really get too much momentum, do you? No. But as soon as you enter here and get the continuation, now you get the momentum. That's in the positive territory. So first, in my understanding, when you are in negative territory, whatever the sellers are dumping, the buyers are slowly accumulating that. So you are maintaining that base. Then at one point, sellers are getting exhausted and buyers are still hungry. They are buying more. That's when the momentum actually pushes the price up. And right now, where you are, it actually feels at least like you've been consolidating from like 1.5 years. Now we are slowly entering back to that level where the buyers are hungry when the sellers are getting exhausted. That's really important to actually keep in mind, because this level has been so painful for a lot of us who have been waiting in terms of time, but you made a lot more in asset. If you had started with 1 XRP, now you may have 100, right? You had that time to accumulate when the price was low. That's great. So when we talk about the same XRP BTC, breaking through this one, that's bullish as you get, because this is the long-term trend line which you are watching, and you did get a fake out here at the bottom, and then you broke higher. Now, if you retest, that's all good, great. And then you bounce. That's something what we want to look at. So when you go back to the XRP chart, say you go on a weekly, then a monthly to see what really is happening. You are like, okay, this is crystal clear. You are now starting to look like a long bullish shaped candle which is holding on and grinding higher. Great. And then you move on. So that's actually bullish. Then you move on to a monthly, looking at this thing like, okay, we just closed the last month here and we are volatile. That's okay. That's good, because we have seen that in the past. We break through different levels, we consolidate and then start moving higher. So if that's going to repeat here, the momentum is going to be higher this time around, because the SEC case is getting so interesting. positively weighed towards XRP not being a security. Because when you go back into the fundamentals, say read through this, I'm like, okay, there is a lot of different stuff they are putting on. And say, now if you go through the entire document, it's going to take a lot of time. But what we are going to look at is the interesting parts. They are actually filing this as an amicus brief. That's all good, all great. They are a company which is early company, like 20 years they've been in the market. So a company which has been 20 years in the market and arguing that we've been using the traditional system, but right now we are using on-demand liquidity because it gives our customers better experience. So automatically you grow as a business when you care more for your customers, put in more value for your customers. Basic sense. Then they actually bring you down to different things in which they actually argue they don't consider XRP. Now, this is one of the important factor. They don't consider XRP to be an investment, but they understand that the way XRP is designed, it's going to increase in value. Now take this. This is an institution saying this. Now, for me on the other side sitting at this, I'm like, okay, if they really understand that the price of this asset is going to go up and they want to use this as a means of exchange, means of value exchange, then they may actually buy this, hold this and use it for their business, right? For their transaction. So it really means they have the leverage of time barrier. They can lift that out. Because if you're using your traditional route, now you have all these issues. Holidays, weekends, you get that tight range and you are having higher friction. Now you don't have that. So one thing, they clearly put that perspective here that they don't care what SEC says because they don't actually see it as an investment. And do they have an idea of what's going to happen in the future? No one knows. But they point this one out clearly that they don't think about there is a contract between them, nor did Ripple pay them anything. You need to get that point clearly. So when they say Ripple did not pay us, we are using this voluntarily because it actually gives our customers more value. Now that is more important than anything else if you are looking at this. For me, that is like, okay, it is going to increase in value. These companies understand that because they have done their research and they are using it for their business. So most likely the value perspective based on what David Schwartz has talked previously, based on Dilip Rao and all these conversations, I'm like, okay, this is really maturing. Even though SEC argues that the on-demand liquidity is nothing like that and it is not getting any traction, it's like 10 billion volume already done with the SEC slowing this thing down because they argue that it's just a universal digital asset which is not, used anyway. Whereas they are saying, no, we are using that and we see a lot of different companies use this. So here, when JP Morgan comes out and say, crypto has no value, they own JPM coin, which is backed by dollar. That's like $31 trillion in debt as an economy. And they say that has value when they're printing this much amount of money. But why are they saying this? In my understanding, they are saying, no retailers, don't enter, wait. Let us build the infrastructure, then loot you guys in the fees. Great. So it is now kind of challenging for all these status quo traditional companies. And they are ready to jump in as the regulatory environment improves. But with what SEC is doing, it actually creates a lot of issue, right? And I'm like, okay, if this is the case, then you really have to think twice before you say, okay, your tax money is being used to pay these guys to do all these idiotic stuff. Imagine a judge ordering you need to do this once, twice, third time, fourth time, and you're like, no, I don't care. So this is what's happening there. So the level of hypocrisy involved in this or what they have to hide is huge. And still there are people who say, okay, even if they get the documents, it may not have nothing to do. I'm like, yeah, if it's completely redacted, you can't even read anything, then you can't do anything. But if it's the actual document which they're trying to hide, they are trying to hide it for a reason. There is, no choice to say like, okay, that's nothing. There will be something huge which goes in favor of XRP as an asset because it's decentralized, because it serves a purpose, the utility, and then there is no investment contract, right? So all this combined, yes, XRP is the standard. So guys, if you received value, please do hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want these updates for different coins to get that opportunity, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So that's it, guys. I'll meet you on the next video. Bye-bye.